everyone, I'm Karrie Evenson and welcome to Karrie on Canvas. Is anyone ready for a vacation? I know I am. You know, my perfect dream vacation is to run away to Tuscany, Italy, sip on delicious wine, eat the most wonderful Italian meals, and relax with the sunset. However, reality kicks in when I hear, "Mom, I flooded the toilet," or "Mom, I spilled my cereal." I quickly snap out of my daydream and tend to my family. Not to worry, my Tuscan trip will happen someday. And until then, when my kids leave for school, I slip off into my studio and create my own mini vacation. Tonight, I'm going to attempt a landscape painting that I envision when I think of my dream vacation. Now, notice I said the word attempt, because not always what we see in our mind ends up the same on canvas, which I'm sure for some of you, you've already figured that out. So get out your paints. Here's what you're going to need. Medium-sized canvas, medium to large paintbrushes, assorted acrylic paint, paper towels or rags. Don't forget your water to keep your brushes clean. And of course, remember to leave your worries behind and find your happy place. So, as usual, I have my canvas here that I've toned like a goldish yellow. Some of you have sent me emails asking me why I tone my canvas or how I tone my canvas. So I wanted to take some time before we get started to kind of let you know exactly what I do. Even though this is already toned, it's a good way to just kind of, give you a little example. Now, when I tone my canvas, or the reason I do it, is I take the base color of what I'm going to be painting with, if it's golds or blues or yellows, and then I do a light wash of acrylic paint mixed with water. So I just simply take either a gold or a yellow, just like this. And then I mix a lot of water with it, so I get a really, really watered down substance, just like that. And basically, very, very simple, using a wash brush, and you can use any kind of wash brush. You just simply glide it on like this. And you do this over the entire piece. And if you have some areas of your painting that won't have any type of gold or yellow, then you simply just leave that out and use a different color. So I'm gonna go ahead and wipe this off just so I can apply the paint without it being so wet and get started. So it's very, very simple, nothing really, difficult to it at all. Okay, back to my round brush, and what I'm going to do is start with the scene, or the background, the lighting. And notice I just kind of sketched this out very easily with charcoal. You could do the same at home, and in order to, when you're sketching out your work with charcoal, you want to use some type of fixative over it so that the charcoal doesn't blend all through your painting. And I also have a medium gel that I use to put texture on it. Okay, so let's get started. Wet my brush, grab some yellow, grab some white, and I'm going to first work in the background. And of course, for those of you who watch my show often, you know that you don't have to sketch out your piece first. I simply do that so you guys can kind of see what I'm working from and what my ideas are coming from. For some of you that are new and it's in the beginning stages of painting, it's also relaxing to kind of have that sketch in there. It's almost like a little break. You don't have to worry so much about where you're going to put something, and it's kind of all there for you. I'm going to create my sunlight right here in the center of the piece. And we'll come back to that a little bit as it dries. And notice how I'm just painting, kind of quickly. I'm not doing small little steps here, small little strokes, just big, even going over the trees, because we're going to come back into it, no big deal. Remember just to relax. I'm on the show painting with you guys, and this piece, I have no clue how it's going to turn out. I really don't. And that's kind of the surprise and the fun in it. But I want you to remember that this whole time I am relaxed painting, and I do that so that I'm not stressed and worrying about how it's going to turn out. By relaxing while you're painting, you're enjoying the process of creating. So keep that in mind when you're working at home. All right, so I'm going to come back down in here in the bottom, kind of get a feel. I think I'm going to do some greens and some magentas. So first, let's start with maybe a yellow ochre. Not one of my favorite colors, but I think it will suit well for this particular piece. Let's mix a little bit of yellow and maybe a little bit of blue. Kind of get a green here. Start out with thin layers, build up from there. I love adding texture to my pieces when I'm doing landscape especially. It gives the art just a little bit more to look at, a little bit more interest, draws the viewer in. I like the questions that I get asked, which is basically, what is that? How'd you do that? All right, so we have a little bit of the bottom worked on. I'm going to come in here with a little bit of burnt sienna, one of my favorite colors. I get a lot of questions on what kind of paint I use, what colors I use. So if you watch my show, I usually, call out what kind of particular color I'm using so that you can use it as well. And you all know that you can always email me as well. At the end of the show, we post my email and my contact info, and if you have any questions about anything, you can always get a hold of me through there. Or any ideas or suggestions. I'm always interested in hearing what you think. Okay. Just kind of lightly put a little bit of green in here. And some gold. It's a very, very simple piece. You just have to go with your instincts, and I think that's what scares most people from painting, is instead of going with their intuition or listening to what their voice is telling them, what their heart is telling them to do with their colors and their paint, they go based on what they think should be. So just throw that out the window tonight and don't do that. Don't think about what should be, just think about what you want to do. There. It's getting some base coat down, that's good. Trying to stick when I'm picturing Tuscany and the pictures that I've seen and the images from movies and things like that, I really want to try to use those golden tones that you see so much of. I think that's what draws me in so much, because those are some of my favorite colors that I love to use in my paintings anyway. And it just kind of reminds me of that warm, cozy feeling. So we're just applying some base coats here. Get some more yellow ochre. Okay, now just going to take some more yellow through here. A little bit of gold. Some white. We'll come back in too and add more shades of, different shadows and things in here. Like to add a lot of water to my brush if I'm having a hard time spreading the paint and if it's not as fluid. So feel free to do that. I don't really use any type of other medium. Water seems to be easiest for me. It's quick, it dries fast, which is what I like. That's why I work in acrylic paints. Coming back to the white up here. Adding some more sunlight. And let's see. Okay. Now, coming back down to my trees that I have here, those tall trees that you see in the Tuscan hillsides. I'm gonna take a little bit of my blue, a little bit of my yellow, and some black. And I don't know how this is gonna look, but we're gonna try it out anyway. And just make these cone shapes almost. Paint's a little wet, so it's gonna smear a bit. That's okay though. We learn to work with things like that. At least I know where, my trees are gonna go. And remember too, on the show I have to do a painting in a short amount of time, so you can always let your piece dry and then come back to it. Trees back in here maybe, some in here. Okay, now I had kind of a little house sketched in the back here, and I'm gonna try to get that in while it's still a little wet so I can at least see where I had it. Might be a little difficult. Yeah, I may have to come back after it dries just a bit. So at least what we can do is scratch it in so we can see where we want our house to go. Okay, we'll come back to that part. So now, coming back in to go over our base coat, then we'll start adding in some flowers, little red magenta colored poppies. And let's see, I think we'll go with a green again. And come back in here, really work it into the base coat here. It's odd for me to use this color green in my paintings, but I thought I'd give it a try. And let's see, take a darker color down here. All right, now coming back to this other side over here where I have the burnt sienna, I'm gonna add a little bit of magenta to it, just a hair. Maybe a little white. Wipe that white off and come back in. Some more burnt. And you can also, to create some shadows, take a darker color, blue, black, and just blend it in at the bottom. I sometimes even like to take like a dry brush or a sponge of some kind and drag the color over. So don't be scared to just play. Anything that comes to your mind. I just did that because I wanted to. You might say, why is she doing that? I just want to. That's how I work. I do what I want. Hope you're doing the same. like for people to ask why. Why? Why is that done? Why is this done? That means I did my job. If you just looked at it and you're like, well, then I didn't do what I was supposed to do. Okay, coming back in, let's see. Maybe I'm gonna add a little bit more yellow ochre up through here. And come back in with some magenta. I love this color with gold. I love, love, love it. It's such a beautiful color. Beautiful. Quinacridone magenta, it's the name of this color I'm using. So when you're making this little area here, what I don't want you to do is this. See a small little brush? This is just what I use for my black lines. I don't want you doing this with a small brush. No, 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 no. If you have a small brush sitting next to you, you better put it away. Get out your big brush, because that's what we're using right now. I guarantee if you start practicing with a bigger brush, you're gonna start feeling more loose and free with your pieces. And you do not have to make all your paintings this way. You could use this as an exercise for yourself. You know, there's no limit to what you can do, people. The only limits are in your mind, and that's it. Okay, taking some yellow here, coming up on this hillside. Add a little bit of burnt sienna up in here. We're gonna come back in with some white and highlight a little bit. Some yellow just to the top. I love making these thick coats also, because then you can do this in it just because you want to. No reason, just because I said so. All right. Coming in through the back, adding some burnt sienna here. This hillside. Might come in with some blue in a little bit. Okay. And some yellow through the top. And see how my lines aren't perfect? Everything's kind of blended. This is just supposed to be fun. See if you can do this in 20 minutes too, you know, at home. Just kind of play around and have some fun, then you won't have so much pressure on you. All right, I'll rinse my brush off. And let's see, I'm gonna come in through this back side here and just kind of add a lighter yellow. And then maybe just a little bit magenta, just to separate the sky and the hillside a bit. Okay, see, and I'm just doing what I feel is right, you know, and after I'm done, I might turn back and say, huh, this needs a little work, or that needs a little work, or I might really love it. But right now, it's just about the process, and that's really what I try to get through in the show, is about actual creating. That's why I love painting so much. I just love it, love it, love it, love it. I'm adding a little bit of shadow into the trees here. Using some blue. If the sun is coming from behind, then you're going to really have more of the dark in the front. So it makes the background pop a lot more as well. Don't be afraid to use your fingers to blend. I'm going to blend shadows in. Spray my paints here. This is just a water bottle. You don't want your acrylics to get dry, so it's good to keep them moist with the spray bottle. Okay. Get a little bit of a different size brush. That one's kind of separating a little bit too much on me. That happens sometimes when you get paint dried up in your brushes, so it's really important to make sure you clean your brushes out properly with soap and water, and don't leave them around your studio with paint still in them like I do, because I'm always in a hurry. Getting there. Okay. Add in my shadows. And for those of you who do paint realistic and use the smaller brushes, which I applaud you because I cannot do that. I'm just an impatient person by nature anyway. But this is a great exercise to kind of take a break from it, loosen your mind up, come up with new ideas. All right. I'm gonna make that one a little bit taller. Okay, so we have something, you know, we've got little trees here. Starting to sort of look what I'm envisioning. And let's see, and oh, my house. More like a shack, but that's okay. If it's in Tuscany, I'll live in a shack. That's fine with me. Let's just take black and let's just kind of go lightly and make it in the background here. Just to kind of hint that there's something there. Maybe we'll take some bright red just a little bit. Something like that. It's a little too wet to kind of make that happen as much as I want to, so we're just gonna keep moving. Try to get as much done for you guys as I can before the show ends so that you can at least see as close to the finished product as possible. Now, something I always tend to do in my pieces, let me get a different brush here, is add teal. But before I do that, I'm gonna add some flowers in here because I almost forgot. So I'm just taking my brush and I'm taking some magenta and a little bit of white, and I'm just making some flowers. There's not a specific way of doing this. Just putting them in. Little hints of them. pretty little flowers. Maybe a little cluster of them over here. And see how things aren't as detailed, but it just kind of gives that hint of that dreamy feeling to it. So it's always been a dream of mine too to go to Italy to paint. I want to do that so bad. Taken a little bit longer than I thought, but we're okay. I don't think it's too bad for the amount of time I'm working on it. Okay. Now, really quick, I'm going to attempt. I love the idea of the teal. Really making these trees pop with this magenta in the back. Just like that. And you don't have to use teal. If you want to use a spice color, you can use a bright yellow. You know, they have like a lemon yellow. Just like that. And maybe we want to add a little bit of light on the tops of our hillsides. Pressure's on now. Of course, you can take your time doing this in your own studio or kitchen table or garage. That was actually my first studio, was my garage. There we go. And can't help this part. I could go crazy with this teal. It's really ridiculous. I just think it's so beautiful. I can't help it. Probably a little too much, but that's okay. Sometimes I can get away with it, sometimes I can't. It always depends on the actual piece and if I'm paying attention to what I'm doing, which most of the time I'm not. Some white. White is really good to use when you want to make things really stand out. Okay, so I think that's about it for now, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you find something that you are truly passionate about and begin that journey to making it happen. And I'll tell you, I sometimes feel so in love with painting that I scare people. You know, friends that I used to know would say, "Karrie, you are just so passionate." And I would look at them baffled. How can one be so or too passionate? I say to all of you, find your hopes, your dreams, your love for something and go for it. The world's, to me, the world needs more passion. Go out and inspire, go out and be inspired. If you have any questions or comments, you know I would love to hear from you. So feel free to email me at soverykarrie@cox.net, or you can go to my website at karrieevensonart.com. Join me again on Monday and Saturday evenings at 7:30 right here on Jones Television, Channel 22. Or visit us at jonestv.org. Till then, I'm Karrie Evenson, and you've been watching Karrie on Canvas.